Hello, Orland Park. I'm Dan McMillan for 147 South Orland Park TV, and we're here someplace you should know at the Orland Fire Protection District training facility, and we're here with definitely someone you should know. He's part of protecting the Village of Orland Park, the Village of Orland Hills, and unincorporated Orland Park, Orland Township. Mr. the Chief, I like to call him the Chief, and we'll call you Chief, but is it Michael Schofield or should we call you Mike Schofield?
You can call me Mike.
Call you Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for having us out here today.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for coming out.
It's something I've never actually been out here. We're out at the training facility. It's out here. Can I tell where it is? Okay. It's out here, right off of 163rd Place, off of 108th. It's a magnificent facility. How long has this facility been here?
Facility's been here since 1988.
Okay, so we built this in 1988. You train, obviously, or definitely, all of the Orland fire crew gets trained out here. What are some of the other fire departments that come out?
We train fire departments from all over the state. Matter of fact, Chicago Fire Department was out here training. You just missed them before you got here.
Oh.
But we do a lot of training here. We're a regional training site, so a lot of people come here to train.
So you're helping out the different communities, and let's go back a little bit. Okay, we've got a great training facility. The department, I don't want to call it a department, it's a fire protection district. So the OFPD protection district. What we've done here is I want to do a little history. So you'll kind of walk us through. When did the Orland Fire Department or Orland Fire District, what was the beginning of it?
Our records, the first records we came upon were 1894 is the first record of a fire department in the Village of Orland Park.
So in 1894, they started most likely a volunteer fire department.
That's correct.
Okay, so they did that. Had probably a horse-drawn cart?
Horse-drawn cart and a hand-pulled pumper.
Hand-pulled pumper. So hand-pulled pumper, I had read somewhere where there's 14 volunteers at that point?
Yeah, so Orland Park was a very small rural town. So having 14 volunteers back then was huge.
Yes. So and I think Orland Park incorporated in 1892. So you've been part of the community. The fire department has been part of the community almost from the beginning. So as we then through the years, the district the department grew. It was still all volunteer until I think I saw it something in 1969 there was a referendum.
In 1969, there was a referendum to create the Orland Fire Protection District. Up until that time, we were a village fire department. But the surrounding unincorporated areas had grown, and there was nobody that was taxed to service them.
So you grew, and then in 1970, what is it? Did Chief Arthur Granite Sr. became the first full-time employee of the fire district in 1973, and he became the chief, and then he was the chief for a number of years after that. And then this training facility is named after Arthur Granite Sr.
That is correct. And one unique part of this training center that's kind of historical is this training center lies on the western boundaries of the Melrose fireworks factory that blew up in 1973.
Oh.
And historically, it was a major incident that was on the news nationwide.
Oh, okay. So that's ironic that happened right there. So 1973, we form the fire district. So it's still fairly small. It's not a lot of employees. Now, as it grows through the years, we now have how many stations?
the Orland Fire District has grown to 6 fire stations. As the Village of Orland Park and the community has grown, so has the need for fire protection. So as the village grows, so does the district.
Yeah, so now you're serving over 75,000 residents and the population for, so we said Orland Park, Orland Hills, Orland, the unincorporated Orland Township, and you have this magnificent training facility that really serves the Chicago regional area.
That is correct. Almost every day out at our training site, there are fire departments here training.
Yeah.
Not only us, but others coming in.
Okay, so you now have over 163 employees. You're leading the team. But what I want to point out, I want to bring this up, and I don't think we even talked about it before. I read a quote where you said, they're not working, the department, the firefighters, the paramedics, everyone, they're not working for you, you're working for them. Just give us a little background or a thought process on how you approach being the chief of the Orland Fire Protection District.
Well, it goes back to growing up here as a young cadet and working my way through the ranks. But the firefighter is the most vital person we have on the fire department because they do the work. They are the paramedic, they are the first-in firefighter. My job as chief is to support everything they do. I work for them. I make sure they have the equipment, the training, and the capabilities. So when I come into work, I shake their hand and say thank you, because without them, there'd be no Orland Fire District.
Very true. Very true. So I love that. I love that work ethic. Let's talk a little bit about Mike Schofield, the man, and I don't mean the offensive lineman. I mean Chief Schofield. Where did you graduate high school?
Providence High School, New Lenox.
Providence High School in New Lenox back in, was it 1978?
78. That's correct.
But you actually started with the Orland Fire District before that.
Correct. I started in our cadet program in 1977 as a cadet firefighter.
Now, is there still a cadet program? How would do somebody in high school, can they still get the experience within the fire department?
Orland Fire District still has a cadet program, and you can look at it on our website.
Okay, so yeah, which is very important. Let's take that time now, folks. I did some research coming into today, looking at the Orland Fire Protection District website, and there is so much information on it, from the annual report to all kinds of preventive steps that you can take in trying to keep things safe. So, but Mike, let's get back to you. You started here as a cadet in 1977, coming out of school. You then, in 1978, you were a volunteer fireman?
That's correct. In 1978, I was a volunteer firefighter. In 1983, I went to the Chicago Fire Department for 3 years and came back here in 1986 as a full-time firefighter. But also, I was the last firefighter hired by Chief Granite before he retired.
Oh, so there's also an interesting tidbit I'd like to point out to the audience, that while you were a paramedic in Chicago, you received a commendation, an award for saving someone at the Nabisco plant. What do you remember about that?
It was 1985. I received the Paramedic Award of Valor for rescuing an unconscious worker in a vat of Oreo mix. They were attempting to clean out the vat, and it was what we call today a confined space rescue. But I managed to get them out.
Man, that's interesting. You don't think of that with the Oreo mix, but anything can happen in silos and anything. You don't realize the weight and what ends up happening when you're dealing it on such a mass part. But so you were in Chicago. You've also been. You've been. I also found it interesting. I'm jumping around, but 1986, you started as a full-time employee. You were sworn in as chief March 1st. 2016. It commemorated 30 years.
30 years from the date I was hired full-time.
How does that feel? I don't want to get too deep here, but how does it feel to be sworn in as chief, knowing that you're celebrating 30 years in the same community, on the force, with so many great people?
Well, it's a great honor, and I was really humbled by the appointment. But it goes back to everybody I worked for, from the time I got here to the time of my appointment, helped me get this position. I did not do it on my own.
Yeah, no, it's a great leaders do always remember that you're only as good as those that surround you, and that's what we have here on the department. And so as we talk about Mike, the gentleman and the family man, as you've grown in the community, you've been a vital part of the community. You have how many children?
I have 6 children, 2 boys and 4 girls.
2 boys and 4 girls. And how long have you been married?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it will be 33 years this August.
To Kathy.
To my wife, Kathy.
Your wife, Kathy. And she's a wonderful woman. Had many discussions with her about Michigan football, and back when Mike was playing at Michigan, and now he's playing at Denver. So I don't want to seem like we're ignoring the rest of your children. You've got, Andrew is teaching up in, South Dakota?
Andrew's teaching in South Dakota, where he also is a volunteer firefighter.
Very good. And before we get to Mike, what are your other, what your other children are doing?
My oldest daughter works for an auto dealer. Her name is Nicole. Stephanie is my next daughter. She works for school district in Oak Lawn.
Very good.
Kathleen works for a local doctor, and Jacqueline is in junior at Sandburg.
Junior at Sandburg, so there's still a connection with Sandburg. It's great. So, are all the kids Eagles?
Yes, every one of them.
So you kind of got off the path, became a Celtic, but you made sure that they got back into the Eagle path. But I love Providence. We've done some shows at Providence, and they have a great program out there. But it's still, this is our community, and this is we love being the Eagles as part of the Eagles. So your Andrew played where, at South Dakota State?
Andrew played at the University of South Dakota.
University of South Dakota, and so now and then right now, so that's where he's teaching.
He stayed in South Dakota. He's in a community called Mission, South Dakota, and he teaches in Todd County.
Very good. So wanted to make sure we don't ignore, you've got a beautiful family, but everyone, I'm sure, asks you, what was it like at the Super Bowl? So just give us a synopsis of what you've had this great, with Mike coming up with Sandburg, and then Mike being a leader there, and then Mike playing at the University of Michigan in the big house, and that's a thrill to be there. But did anything prepare you to be at the Super Bowl?
No, there's nothing that can prepare you for the Super Bowl. Michael started 16 games, and when you get to the playoff, every game's a lot of pressure, especially for a first-time starter. So he was under a lot of pressure, and he handled it very well.
Yes.
But also being in the last huddle, the last play of Peyton Manning's career, I think really meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
It was very exciting.
Yeah. How was the relationship with him and Peyton?
It was very good. Peyton had a lot of patience with the young kids. He was a great mentor. What you see on TV is how he is. He's just a really good guy. No,
that's great. It's so the Denver Broncos win the Super Bowl, and how do you think how will Mike top that? Can you?
I think the only way of topping it is to do it again. But it was just an amazing feeling for the family and for him. I mean, this first year he walks away with a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
But it was a great ride.
No, it was. It was. I think it was great for you, the family, for him, of course, and for the whole community. Because he was a Pioneer, which we all love the Orland Park Pioneers, and then he was an Eagle. So I think it's like everybody embraced him, and it just made it closer, and it really brought the community together. And that's where we'll talk a little bit about the role of the Orland Fire Protection District within the community. What are some of the things you see, or that you find that are very important that you guys do within the community?
Our ability to interact. We offer many programs. And the CPR program is probably one of the most important programs, because when we're called to a heart attack, if CPR is being done prior to the time we get there, the greater sense of success. So it is truly a team operation between us and our community.
Yeah.
The more we interact and the more we share, going both ways, the better we are.
So that part, being out there in the community, I had read where you guys have do a lot of you're at the training center, but you offer training to the community. You do a lot of training, of course, with all the hazmat for the fire department. But in the community, what kind of training could someone seek out?
They can seek out first aid training, CPR training. We work closely with our seniors on falls and medication. If there's something you don't see on our website, ask for it and we'll get it.
So anybody, local sports organizations, local schools, other community organizations want to get trained and make sure that they know how to use the defibrillator that's at the gym every day.
We will go out, especially to the local sports. We will train you on the defibrillator. We'll train you on basic first aid and what to do if someone gets hurt.
Yes. So you've got the training. We want them to know that about that, the what you guys can do. You also have it looks imposing when I was reading it on the site, talking about Homeland Security. I think that people sometimes feel they don't understand how much of a role they play in Homeland Security. So what are some of the things that they should do in terms of being prepared for some type of a disaster?
First of all, have a plan at home. Know where everybody is. Have a place to go, at least in your residence, in their neighborhood if something happens. Have a phone tree set up, so if something happens to you or in your area, you're able to get a hold of somebody from the family relatively quickly. But a lot of common sense. And just like you'll see on the Homeland Security, if you see something, say something.
Very good.
Just be prepared.
Yeah. So that's important. I think that, number one, your site is a phenomenal site to get the information. I saw on there, I think there's something in that you can then go on this Cook County site. There's a state of Illinois site, and there's a federal site. Are those sites have a wealth of information?
Every site is linked and has a great amount of information. The county's a little different from the state's a little different than the feds. But by all of them, you're going to gain a lot of information.
Very good. Now let's talk a little bit about the department and the strides it's made. I always like to talk about the community of Orland as being an urban community with a small town feel. I call it Mayberry, but with all the amenities of a large city. But what we've got is such a small town with I say it gets your what is it on your site? You talk a lot about transparency. What have you done? What has the department done to make sure that there always is you're always accountable?
Well, our website, we post everything on our website, from our bills to our minutes from meetings. But it's important that the community as a whole has confidence in the administration of any municipal site, whether it's police, fire, public works. Without that confidence, there's always going to be questions. And as a fire district, we want people to be confident in what we do and how we run our organization.
Well, I did read, and this is commending to you and your team, that in a recent audit that you received as a fire district the grade of A. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's what we're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to.
And that's what people expect, nothing less than an A.
Yeah, and as a guide against that, there were a number of places, including fire departments and other municipalities, that received an F. So it's not as if it's not an easy A type thing. So it's very transparent, very important that we're out in the community. There's and little things like what was there? Can you tell us a little bit about the memorial that was built at one of the stations by an Eagle Scout?
One of the Eagle Scouts built a memorial site at our Station 1, and there's a flagpole that commemorates fallen firefighters, but there's also a mailbox where people can put in old flags to be discarded properly. There's a proper method to getting rid of a flag, and we perform that service.
And that is at Ebony Station or Station 1. So it's Station 1. We have the War Remembrance Memorial, and you can take flags that you want to properly dispose of.
That is correct.
Now, where is Station 1?
9790 West 151 Street, right across from the police station.
Oh, the one at. Okay, the one now. Nick Sinkapalmi is the.
Yes.
What do we call him? A battalion chief? Or
Yes. No, he is a battalion chief.
He's a battalion chief. So let's talk a little bit about as we wrap. We're going to wrap up this part, and then we're going to show you around the station and a little bit of a training. Maybe I'll even have a fire suit on. But let's talk a little bit about the fire department, or the fire district. There's a lot of people, as you said, there's so many people that go into it. There's so much effort that goes into it. But as I looked at the organization chart, it starts at the top with the trustees. Now, who do we have? The trustees, I think it was Evoy,
Blair Rohde, Jane Schermacher, James Hickey, John Brudnick.
And so, and Mr. Evo, I remember, and that's how great of a community it is. I've coached with John Brudnick, and I've coached Mr. Evoy's son. So it's the more you're in the community, it's like there's so many. They talk about 6 degrees of separations, but there's so many connections, which is great. So you've got the trustees, then you have a fire commission.
Mm-hmm. Fire commission is tasked with the promotions and discipline of the firefighters.
Oh, okay. So then you have the fire chief.
Then you have the fire chief. Below the fire chief is a battalion chief, and then goes lieutenant, engineer, firefighter.
Yes. Everyone as important as the other one.
Nobody's more important than anybody.
No.
This is a solid team effort.
Yes. This is as close to a football team as I can see, because I've always tell the kids, everyone on every play is the most important person in the play, because if one person misses their block, the play's done. If one firefighter doesn't rise up to the occasion, and I think they always do. And let's close out though with let's talk about just in your career. The fire, in the Orland Fire District. You were also, I don't think I pointed out, you were the chief in Homer Township from, I think, 2002 to 2012.
That is correct.
So some good experience out there.
Absolutely.
Keeping Homer under control. Okay. Now what we've got is I just wanted to close out with something that. A fire that you remember, not necessarily because it was big, but did something, is there something that sticks out in your mind as a memorable event is on the force?
There's been so many. It's hard to, over 37 years, it's hard to pick out one. But each one has its own stories. There's really not one that really sticks out.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I just thought of this. Chicago Fire. What do you think of the show?
Actually, I don't watch it.
You don't watch it, okay? No, I can understand. I just was curious as to how realistic. Sometimes, TV's of course going to be over dramatized things.
Every story, I guess, has a base where it came from. So the story itself is probably true, but how they portray it is hyped up for TV.
Yeah, just like a movie would be. Mm-hmm. The one thing I want to point out, one story to really humanize what you guys do, and is one of your battalion chiefs. A couple of years ago, he was at the Sportsplex watching a basketball game, and what happened?
Battalion Chief Nick Sinkapalmi was watching his son play basketball, and in the next court, a young person in his 30s collapsed. Nick heard the commotion, ran over there, and that person was in full cardiac arrest. Nick turned him over, started CPR. They bought an AED that the Sportsplex has, and they used it, and they shocked him, and he came back to life.
It's a success story that there's numerous stories we could go into, but we just wanted to point out that's one. We want to thank the Orland Fire Protection District for being there and being within the community and doing everything that they do. So, Mike, to close, well, I guess we'll just summarize. Where do you see, I guess, within the next 10 years, the Orland Fire Protection District going?
Well, our job is obviously always to train, and you'll see through this presentation our training center, but we need to keep up with technology. Who knows what's going to happen 5 and 10 years? If you look back 5 and 10 years ago, I wouldn't think we would be doing what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We're going to keep training, and we're going to improve.
Yeah, that's what is so amazing. You can't even predict what the technology that's going to come out to help us, and you have to look at it as helping us, and you have to keep learning. And I think the Fire Protection District will keep learning. You'll keep learning. We really appreciate you having us out here today. So, do we have time now to do a little for me to get a little training? I'm probably not trainable, but let's go through it and see what we have.
Dan, you're going to be amazed at what you see at this training site.
Yeah,
you will be.
Well, folks, stay tuned. the Chief, Mike Schofield, is going to, and we also have a couple of lieutenants we're going to talk to that are going to lead us through and show us the amazing facility that is the Arthur Granite Senior Training Facility. Mike, thanks for having us out here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're here with Mr. Mark Duke, we also like to call him Lieutenant Duke. Welcome, Lieutenant Duke.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us today. This is this facility has so many different training rooms. What is where we're at today, and what we're going to do, and show the folks at home in just a moment. What would you? What are we going to do?
Well, this is our EMS simulation center, so we can recreate or create any type of medical emergency that our paramedics might encounter. So we want to work on those events here in a simulation as realistic as we can make it, so that when they go to that actual call, they're going to have experienced that before.
So everyone, you train, even if you've got 10 years of experience, you're still going to have somebody make sure they keep training and training, so they never forget it.
Yes, the key is repetition. We want to build muscle memory that's positive and that gives us the right result.
Yeah.
And that you have to do it throughout your career. Nothing that we do is a one-time and you're done.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been here at the Orland Fire Protection District?
I started here in 1996, so 20 years this year.
Right out of school?
No, I started a little late in my career. I had a different career prior to this in industry, and I was a volunteer in POC on another fire department. So all total, probably about 25 to 30 years in emergency service.
Very good. So it took you a little time to find your way to the Orland Park Fire District. You found this was your calling. You're here. You'll be here another 45 years or so, saving lives for the Village of Orland Park and the surrounding community. So we really appreciate everything you do. We really do. We say it kind of, I say it with some humor, but I never minimize the role that you guys have. You're a lieutenant, and that means you're really running the place. The chief really doesn't really have much to do. You really run what happens. Oh, Chief, I didn't see him. No, just kidding.
We are all in support roles.
Yes.
As EMS administrator, my job is to support the EMS part of our department. And so again, it's about making sure they have the right equipment, the right training, fix the problems, if something breaks, or even right now we're looking at an ambulance re-chassis and purchase, because we really run the wheels off of them. So that's encompasses a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's in full support of the district, of our paramedics, and of the chief, to make sure that we're picking up all the pieces like we need to.
Yeah, so we were talking before about the technology and the role it plays. So you're really always on the lookout to make sure that everything, that as things are upgraded, that the Orland Fire Protection District has those tools at their fingertips.
Yes, we look for technology, and we look for opportunities to increase our knowledge and skill sets in EMS, and I get that support from the fire chief, and our board of trustees support our programs that we do, and we're very fortunate that way.
Well, you're doing a great job. We now want to see a little bit of see us in action. Get ready to do it. So we'll take a break. We'll get things set up. And we'll be right back here with the lieutenant saving a life. Thank you. We're in the training mode. We've got someone that has now experienced full cardiac arrest, and so the paramedics are going to. What's the machine we're using right here?
This is a cardiac monitor and defibrillator.
Which do most you have them on, of course, every truck, every ambulance, and every truck.
This one will read cardiac rhythms. It'll also defibrillate, the same as an AED will, that are more available to the public. The AEDs automatically, they check the rhythm and determine when to shock or not. We can actually see the rhythm, do our assessment, and then we can make that determination.
Got it. Okay.
I gotta give us some power for this, though.
Okay, we're gonna power it up. So we've got someone that went into cardiac arrest. Then the first thing you'll do is you won't do CPR right off the bat.
Yes,
or
we
you'll
will.
do CPR.
So
right
we've
off the bat.
identified our patient is in cardiac arrest. Chief Dan, I need you to start compressions.
Okay. So and now is there a special way to?
Find the center of his chest, right between, put the heel of your hand right in the center of his chest on the breastbone, and push hard and fast.
Hard and fast.
We're doing
Now while you're doing
compressions. What do we got?
Keep your arms straight, body over top of it. You want to be able to push down his chest anywhere from 2 to 2.4 inches. So you need to push that down about 2 inches.
Now, while you're doing that, I'm going to prepare to get these defibrillator pads on. So you essentially are keeping this patient viable. If this is a savable patient,
Yes.
this is what's keeping their blood circulating.
Keeping the heart pumping.
I'm going to get the pad, so you just do that. We're going to do that for a good 2 minutes, so that when we do find out if we're ready to defibrillate our patient, we're going to know that we circulated good oxygenated blood around for at least 2 minutes. This is what we would our public would do if you called 911 and said you had a person that wasn't breathing, that was unconscious.
You would
our
instruct them
dispatchers would instruct you to do this.
Okay, to pump the heart.
So here's what I'm going to do.
Yes.
You keep going. I'm going to count 3. I'm going to slip this pad under your hands, and you're going to push on this target.
Oh, okay.
On my count, 1, 2, 3, lift, back on the chest. Now I can.
So now that's got So
Now I
it's
can
a
actually
monitor.
see how well you're doing with your compressions. And our patient's in ventricular fibrillation, which is a shockable rhythm. I want you to keep going until I tell you to stop.
Okay.
We're just about at the 2-minute point. I'm going to charge up our monitor.
Good. So then the monitor will tell if you're getting a heartbeat.
Well, these particular set of pads, I can see what the underlying rhythm is. Now, I have it charged up, ready to shock. I'm not going to hit the button until you lift your hands off, because we
Okay.
need to be clear, so we don't want to shock ourselves.
Yeah.
I'll check the rhythm just prior to hitting that button, though, to confirm what we've got.
Got it. Okay.
So on my count again, on 3, 2, 1, lift your hands. We do have V-fib.
Oh.
Make sure we're clear. Shock the patient. I'm going to go take over now.
Okay. And then you've got.
Now we're going to do 2 more minutes of CPR. You get a little break here because you're probably tired from doing compressions. Okay? Lieutenant Piper's going to ventilate our patient. The next thing we're going to work on is getting an IV and giving our cardiac medications. And we're going to rotate every 2 minutes doing compressions as long as we need to.
And then that'll monitor and tell you when it's.
Yeah, we have a running clock. I've gone about 30 seconds now. I'm going to watch that because this does take it gets hard after a while. So.
Yeah. So then you keep that going to revive him. You're giving him oxygen, and then
we're going to start an IV. We're going to give medications, and Dave would do that, or you could do that if you were our paramedic.
If I knew what I was doing.
And every 2 minutes, while we have a rhythm we can shock, we're going to shock him.
Okay.
So, our best case scenario is Dave checks a pulse for me, and I got good CPR good pulses with CPR, and then I'm going to stop. And hey, our patient's got a pulse.
Patient's there. Everybody's.
Now we're going to do a set of vitals, make sure they're getting oxygen. If they're not breathing on their own, we'll support that.
Yes.
And we'll do a 12 lead, which we send to the hospital, so in case they need the cardiac cath lab, because we don't know what their event was from.
So that gets transmitted to the hospital immediately, so they're ready when you
They'll assemble
bring the
their
patient to the
team
hospital.
right to the cardiac cath lab. They have a blockage, they'll put a balloon or a stent in there and open up that vessel and get that blood circulating again.
So you can you're diagnosing and remitting to the hospital
That's
almost
correct.
simultaneously, and that so when they get there, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Nice job on your say. Good job.
Thank you. The two lieutenants are masters at this. This lieutenant, now is it Dave? Dave. He got the right shirt. Dave Piper, also here, lieutenant in training. Now, what's your specialty?
I'm in charge of training for the whole department.
So you're in charge of training for the department. You're the EMR?
EMS.
EMS.
Emergency
Sorry
Medical
about that.
Services.
The Emergency Medical Services. So it's amazing what you guys do here, what we've done, I mean, you really do save lives. You know, that's the amazing part. It's life or death at times.
And you helped.
Well,
And that's
always trying.
That's the message for our community is we want everyone here to know CPR. Before we arrive, we have good response times here. We can get to an incident anywhere from 2 to 4.5 minutes, and that's crucial. But the really important part is we have somebody doing CPR before we get there. That's when people have the best chance to survive. So we really want to stress our community CPR.
Yes, very good. So folks, get on the website, learn when the training is, and sign up. And it's an educated community is a much stronger community.
It's free.
And it's free. Yes. So that's no reason not to do it. You have every reason. You have a life. You have lives to save. So it's very important. So we'll wrap up here, and then you guys will lead us into another training exercise to see what we can see if we can save some more lives.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.